When interest rates are going up, as they have been in the US, bonds can get a bad rap. Many investors believe that if rates are rising, a bond Armageddon is coming, so it must be time to sell all your fixed income and flee for the relative safety of equities. But does that strategy really make sense? We don't think so. Investors who move out of bonds may avoid some short-term pain, but it's not a sound long-term strategy. And even in the near term, you may not end up getting what you signed up for. To see why, let's revisit some bond basics. The return of a bond primarily comes from two things: price return and income return. When rates go up, bond prices go down, so price returns take a hit. But don't forget about the income piece. With income lies the true superpower of bonds. Those steady coupon returns can act like a shield that helps protect against the occasional storm of rising interest rates, and they compound over time. So actually, income makes up a much greater part of the total return of a bond over the medium to long term. And remember, while rising rates are bad for bond prices, they actually affect income positively. Not only do rising rates mean more income, because rates are just higher, but bondholders can reinvest their coupons at those higher rates. The more interest rates rise, the more income contributes to return. Investors who understand the fundamentals of bonds actually want interest rates to rise because they know this ultimately means more return from their bond portfolio, not less. A critic of this argument may say, sure, but what if interest rates rise for a really long time? Interest rates have been generally falling since the early 1980s. It's over 30 years. What if rates were to trend higher for that long? What if they were to go all the way back to 13 or 14%? If we consider this extreme scenario for bond prices, it's not pretty. But the return from income, however, should be strongly positive and should far outweigh these negative effects of price return. The reality is the power of income gets stronger with time thanks to these effects of higher yields, better reinvestment rates, and compounding, that is, making income on income. A slow, steady rise in interest rates would actually be an ideal scenario for bond returns. If you're still not convinced that you should think twice about shifting your whole portfolio from bonds to stocks, let's think about risk. Every investment involves risk, and if we look historically, bonds are no exception. Clearly, there have been periods of underperformance in bonds. However, typically these periods have been relatively short-lived, and after only a few quarters, performance has recovered. Equities aren't a riskless asset either. Periods of equity underperformance have on average been both deeper and longer. And importantly, some of the more severe episodes have often come after a series of rate hikes as the economic cycle nears its end. This is something to consider for those viewing equities as a way to avoid underperformance. The point is, no asset class is black and white. In a rising rate environment, fixed income isn't deadly and equity isn't safe. Also, remember bond basics. Income should dominate the total return of a bond in the medium to long term. And lastly, every investment involves risk. Diversification exists for a reason. Know the risks you're taking and don't polarize your portfolio with any one type of risk or based on perceptions.